Russell Wilson going to the Denver Broncos. Wilson is traded to Denver. Denver trades 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th. Also, 3 players, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. All of that goes to Seattle in return for Wilson. And joining us right now, we go to the heart of the action. We go to Denver. Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, host of Nick and Cecil on 104.3 The Fan out there in Denver, joins us. Nick, thanks for the time. It is much appreciated. What's the reaction been in Denver after the news of this deal?
Well, I know only once a year we can celebrate a new year coming in, but that's exactly how it feels right now in Denver as we celebrate here because we've been quarterback thirsty for a while since that of Peyton Manning. And the organization has dipped its toe in this pool before. And what I mean by that is going out and getting veteran guys who are already experienced because for some reason we have problems developing our own quarterback, but I feel more comfortable knowing as though we have a quarterback in Russell Wilson who's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's competitive. I know things didn't look that great with Russell in Seattle last season, but they had a lot to do with the play calling, the lack of run game, defense deficiencies, and O-line efficiencies as well. But we are happy to welcome Mr. Unlimited to the Mile High City.
Mr. Unlimited. Nick, are you surprised that it's Wilson and not Rodgers or even someone else?
You know what? No, I'm not. And here's what I was trying to tell a lot of my station mates who were really high on Rodgers coming here, and some went out as so far to say, yes, it is going to happen. I said, well, no, it's not. I know everyone was looking at the Rodgers salary cap with the Packers and said the Packers were not going to be able to get under the cap to sign Devontae Adams, other guys, and also give Rodgers what he wanted.
Right.
I was like, well, this whole thing about the salary cap, we look at it like it's a mystery, right? But it's not because we see so many teams over the cap, but they find a way to get under the cap by either trade deadline or the beginning of the NFL, calendar year. And that's exactly what the Packers did. And I said, this also. Rodgers said that he was going to make a decision. He wasn't going to wait that long. But he was waiting, and all of us were waiting, and it's almost like it was decision 2022 as we watched to see what Rodgers was going to do, but he knew what he was going to do all along. The idea was getting Devontae Adams his contract, which they still have to work that out, but Rodgers wanted more money. So for me, I knew he was never going to do that. I mean, teams like the Broncos and maybe the Colts, all they did was drive up the price. Rodgers was best to stay where he is because if you look at the NFC, really who's in his way? Matthew Stafford and the Rams, that's about it. So it was best served for him to stay where he is, and the Broncos just need to work on a contingency plan, and what a hell of a contingency plan it is.
Nick Ferguson is with us, former NFL safety, host of the Nick and Cecil Show, 104.3 The Fan out in Denver, talking Russell Wilson. As if you're just joining us, if you're living under a rock, Wilson is now a Bronco. Nick, what are your thoughts on what the Broncos gave up for Wilson?
I'm okay with it. There are some fans who are still trying to come to grips with it because you're giving up 2 first-round picks, 2 second, a 5th, Noah Fant, and Shelby Harris. And it just seemed like, man, that is a truckload for a guy who didn't really look great last year. But here's what we know. I mean, it said that this year's quarterback class isn't the best class, right? So you need to go out and go get a veteran guy. So they went and got that guy. And let's keep this in mind. Those 2 first-round picks, one for this year and one for next year. Really, we don't even know where those first-round picks were going to fall.
Right.
I mean, were they going to be in the top 5, the top 10, or maybe near the bottom? We don't know, and that changes a lot for a team. So George Payton went out and did the right thing. We hear all the time in the NFL, this is a quarterback-driven league, and if you don't have one, you don't have one. So now he's answered that question. Now the problem is, which I think he can't resolve, is now that you don't have those picks, you now have to use that extra salary cap capital to go out and get veteran players. And to me, there are enough veteran players out there on the market that we can plug a lot of our gaps, which is edge rusher, interior D-line help, especially with Shelby being gone, middle linebacker. And, oh, by the way, keep this in mind. Just a day ago, Von Miller made his plea to return back to Denver, Colorado.
Yep, no doubt about that. I saw all the social media posts. I think that Von had an idea of what might be happening here, and he started to kind of lay the groundwork yesterday, as you said. Nick, how much pressure does this put on first-time head coach Nathaniel Hackett?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on it because coming here to Denver, knowing, like I said, we've been quarterback Thursday, we've missed the playoff. As far as making history, we made history in the wrong way. For a team to have gone to the playoffs and the Super Bowl and won, and just have the drop that we've had, that's an insurmountable pressure that's now placed on Nathaniel Hackett. If you had Drew Lock, people can say, well, we can understand. If you had a rookie quarterback, we can understand. But you have Russell freaking Wilson. There's no understanding. Right now, it's at least 11 wins, a playoff berth, and if they go out and get the right pieces on offense and defense, now, hey, we can start talking Super Bowl II as well.
With Wilson as the quarterback, Nick, what do you think the ceiling is for that young wide receiver crew in Denver?
It is out of the roof, right? I mean, looking at the receivers that Russell has had over his time with the Seattle Seahawks, all of those guys were quality wide receivers, and some of those guys were not top draft choices but became household names because Russell Wilson was throwing them passes. So when you look at a Jerry Jeudy, who's been frustrated over the past 2 seasons, and we've had people here say that he was a bust, he's no good. And I'm like, I don't know what you're looking at because the guy who's throwing him the ball isn't that great.
Right.
But we're not going to have that issue now. KJ Hamler, who's coming off an injury, he's going to be our version of maybe Tyler Lockett. So we have 2 big wide receivers outside, Cortland Sutton, and we have another guy in Tim Patrick. Now, I also tossed this out. Now, we're still talking free agency now. I'm hoping that George Payton decides to go out and get Cordarrelle Patterson because now we can use him as a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back, and a kick return. That would be our version of Percy Harvin.
Yeah, I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson was absolutely fantastic last year with the Falcons. He, as you said, he did everything. Nick Ferguson with us, former NFL safety, host of Nick and Cecil, 104.3 The Fan in Denver. I think you just touched on this a little bit, Nick, a moment ago, but I want you to drill down on it more. Where do you think Denver fits in the AFC hierarchy with Wilson as now QB1?
Well, right now as it stands, the Broncos have moved up from the bottom of the division into position number 2, right? Because until you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, there's nothing to really talk about. And if I'm not mistaken, they've beaten the Broncos 12 or 13 consecutive times. Now, the thing that changes that would now push the Broncos up a little, maybe even or above Kansas City, just from a roster standpoint, is going to be based on what they do at right tackle, what they do at the guard position. Can we go get another edge rusher? Can we go get another linebacker? Because right now, Seattle looks like they are in a huge rebuild mode. And also another guy in Seattle who could be on the trade blocks on his way out is Bobby Wagner. So if we're able to add a Bobby Wagner-type linebacker to the defense that we have already, look out. Look out.
Last one for you, Nick. What could go wrong with this deal in your eyes?
Well, the only thing that would, tank the deal is Russell Wilson has to have a physical, right? And usually we've seen this happen in basketball. The lack of a physical, a guy fell a physical, that ruins the trade. But when we think about Russell Wilson, he's typically a healthy guy. The only thing that was a major concern was that finger.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
That was kind of an issue, and he had surgery. Now, if it comes to pass that they look at that surgery and they say, well, it's not where we want to, and then the trade is voided, then if I'm Russell, I'm going back to whoever that surgeon is, and I'm suing him. But I don't foresee that happening. So for right now, I'll celebrate until there's some other news to tell me otherwise.
Nick, thank you for the time. It's much appreciated. I'm sure you're busy, my man, and what a fun time to be out in Denver. Jokic, now you got Russell Wilson. It does not stink to be in Denver right now as a sports fan and sports host.
Well, hold on now. Don't forget now. We still got the Colorado Avalanche now.
Okay.
We still got the Avs.
You can't forget the Avs. Can't forget the Avs. We'll throw them in there too as well. Thanks, Nick, for the time. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
All right, there goes Nick Ferguson, host of Nick and Cecil, 104.3 The Fan in Denver.